Good morning and welcome to this online Tamdok class. Today we will talk about Koguryo and we will start from its legend of how Koguryo came to be and continue to talk about society and military. I really hope you will enjoy it. Let's start. We could talk a lot about the society of Koguryo, but we will only mention one thing, and that is a particular law. This law is called Chindebo. What is this? Well, during the King Kogukchon's reign, there was a minister called Ulpaso. This gentleman was involved in agriculture himself, and he realized there are some problems. The very powerful people of Koguryo often borrowed food for poor people, but there was a trick. There was an interest in it, which means that if you borrow 1 kilo of rice from the powerful lord, you have to return 2 kilos later. As you can see, it was a quite harsh system. Ulpaso recommended a law that the peasants can borrow rice from the state in the spring, and they can return the exact same amount after the harvest time. This made the life of people much easier. This law was important because the area of Koguryo, which is today's North Korea and Manchuria in China, is very harsh on agriculture. The winters are very, very cold, and it's not so easy for farmers to cultivate things. Okay, now let's say something about the craftsmanship and the military of Koguryo. Let's go. Okay, so first we will mention something about the military history of Koguryo. If you look at the map, you can see that Koguryo was a state which was caught between China, different northern nomad tribes, Baekje and Shilla. More than this, inside Koguryo there were many different tribes that spoke different languages than the main Koguryo language. Because of this, Koguryo had a lot of wars, and being a warrior was a very high-level occupation. The most famous king in terms of Koguryo war history is, can you tell me who is it? Yes, it's Kwangeto. Kwangeto was a conqueror. He really expanded Koguryo's territory well, and his son, King Jangsu, just continued in this endeavor. How do we know about all his deeds? The answer is somewhere here. Here, archaeologists found something that we call the Kwangeto stele. Stele is basically a big stone that contains some kind of information, to say it very simple. This stone was made by King Jangsu, and it described the deeds of his father. Furthermore, Jangsu made the territory of Koguryo even bigger, going down all the way to the Han River. So as you can see, these warrior kings really expanded the country to be much bigger than the remaining two countries, Baekje and Shilla. One important war we will talk about is the war between Sui China, that is Sunera, and Koguryo. This happened on the end of the 6th and the beginning of the 7th century. What happened was that Sui China wanted to attack and destroy Koguryo because they were a bit worried about their military power. So they attacked with huge amount of soldiers. Records are talking about between 600 and 1 million soldiers. At that time, Koguryo had a very good general called Uljimundok. Uljimundok knew that he cannot meet this Chinese force directly. That would be certain death. What he used was a special tactics, what we call feigned retreat. In other words, fake escape. This means that you always pretend to escape from the enemy while making it weaker and weaker and leading it where you want it to go. He also made a trap. The river Salsu is flowing near today's Pyongyang. He made a huge dam in the river, holding back the water of the river behind this dam. Then he lured the Chinese army near the river and released the dam. As you can imagine, the water came roaring down and swept away many of the Chinese troops. A huge battle followed, after which, out of those 300,000 Chinese troops, only 2,000 escaped back home. The Battle of Salsu is one of the bloodiest battles of history, not only in Korea, but internationally. As you can see, Goguryeo was master in using the terrain and the features of the nature to their own advantage when it came to war. Okay, let's go. A while ago I mentioned that one of the reasons why Sui China wanted to defeat and destroy Goguryeo was because they were afraid of them. Now let's talk about why would anyone be afraid of Goguryeo military. First, let's play a game, okay? I will give you a few seconds to find the world map. Please do it. Good. I hope you already found it. Now put your finger on a country which is called Iran. Have you found it? Now, move your finger from Iran in a rainbow shape towards Korea. Good. Now, with your finger, you have covered a huge area. The cultures in the past who lived in this area used very, very particular battle strategies and tactics, which were amongst the most effective battle tactics in world history. And Goguryeo was one of them. I will show you what am I talking about. Goguryeo's military had two very important things: horse riding and archery. And of course, these two were also combined. There are two things in Goguryeo army that made the Chinese and all their neighbors afraid of them. First is here. The picture near me shows a warrior called Kema Musa. These warriors were soldiers in heavy armor. Not only them, but also their horses used armors. The second part of the army is here. These are the light horse archers. These are people who didn't have too much armor, but they moved very quickly around the battlefield and they could shoot arrows in every direction around them while moving. The usual tactics of Goguryeo was that they pretended to escape the enemy, and while the enemy was chasing them, they shot arrows backwards into their faces. When the enemy became weak and tired, the heavy cavalry, the Kema Musa, attacked and finished them. Because of this combination, the armies of Goguryeo were extremely effective and feared in the area. However, it was not only the armies, but their equipment too. As you might know, Goguryeo was expert in iron working. They had not only iron weapons and armor, but they also created a small thing which is very important in wars. And this is here. This small thing is called stirrup or tunja. Basically, it's something that is on the saddle of the horse that you put your feet in, and it helps you balance in the saddle while you are moving around or shooting arrows. Balancing with the stirrup tunja makes it much easier for a horse archer to fight. I'm not saying that it was Goguryeo who invented the stirrup, but it's one of the first countries where we found iron stirrups which were used in both sides of the saddle. Of course, as I mentioned, Goguryeo also had very high-level weapons and full-body armor, all made of iron. As you can imagine, they were quite a fearful army at that time. Okay, This was the attacking part of the army. Now let's go and let's talk about the defensive part of Koguryo's military. Follow me. Koguryo was a country of many mountains, and as I said, they used terrain to their advantage. One of the ways they did it was building mountain fortresses. These simple but effective fortresses were built on the top of the mountains, so you could see the enemy from far, far away. One of the typical features of these fortresses are the watchtowers, from where you actually controlled the enemy. These are called chi. Another important part of Koguryo architecture is the ondol. Although it's not related to military, it's important that we mention it now because, as you know, it's one of the unique features of Korean culture. Ondol actually appeared in Koguryo and slowly started to spread down to the rest of Korean peninsula. This ondol, of course, was much more simple than the later ones, partly also because Koguryo buildings were not joined together, but they were separate rooms. But still, this is the forefather of the Korean floor heating system. Now let's say something about the culture of Koguryo, namely something about religion. Let's go. Do you like animals? I love them too. Now let's see 5 animals that were extremely important in Koguryo culture. We will start with the 4 guardians of the world's directions. It's important to know who they are, but it's also good to know why these animals are important in East Asian culture. So I will explain it in 1 sentence each. Are you ready? Then let's travel. First, we will go to the east. The guardian of the east is behind me. He is the blue dragon, Chongyong. The dragon, as you already know, is an extremely important creature in Chinese beliefs and also in East Asian beliefs as well. The first dragon picture ever found, can you guess from which time is it? Almost, but the first dragon ever found was in the tomb of a Neolithic Chinese warrior, Shinsokishide. So as you know, it's a very, very old and important symbol. Now let's move to the north. Behind me is the guardian of the north. He is the black turtle, or Hyonmu. The turtle is a very important symbolic animal, not only in Korea and China, but in other cultures as well. For example, even in Africa. Why, you would ask? Look at the turtle. The turtle's shell looks like the sky and the earth. Because of this, in many cultures, it symbolized the whole universe. Also, as you might know, turtles live extremely long, longer than most people in the past. So they also symbolized wisdom and longevity. Now, let's go to the south. Behind me, you can see the guardian of the south. This is Chujak. In English, you can often see its name as red phoenix, but it's wrong. Phoenix is actually a bird from the Egyptian and Greek mythology, which means it was a traditional fire bird in Egypt, North Africa. This bird's proper English name is vermilion bird. Vermilion is a kind of red. So as you know, it's not really a phoenix. Please don't use this word for it. Now, let's go to the last direction, which is the west. So, say hi to the guardian of the west, who is Pekho, or the white tiger. As you know, tiger was the strongest predator in East Asia, and because of this, he is a very, very important symbol. Actually, in both China and Korea, the dragon and the tiger were kind of symbolizing yin and yang. While the dragon was the king of sky, the tiger was the king of the earth. That's why in many folk tales or legends the tiger is very important. If you look at this particular Koguryo picture, you can even see that the body of the tiger is somewhat similar to the body of the dragon. This is because these two were considered to be the most powerful creatures on the earth. And now, for the fifth and most important animal, it's the samchogo. The samchogo is translated as a three-legged crow that lives in the sun. Why is it the most important? For North Asian people, sun was one of the most important elements of the sky, and sun god was one of the highest gods they believed in. Thus, samchogo, who lives in the sun, was their most respected animal symbol. You can find samchogo in different parts of old Korean architecture or art, even up to Koryo times. But not only Koreans respected samchogo. Can you guess what other countries you can find this legendary bird in? Japan, yes. In Japan, you can find samchogo in the most surprising spots. Did you know that one of the representative Japanese football teams uses samchogo as their symbol? Let's look at it. So, this is for today's lesson. I hope you had fun during our historical tour. See you next time. Have a very, very nice day. Bye bye.